from there, all I focused on was multifamily. So it was a couple books and my focus on the just keeping it in that one niche and being able to start actually speaking the language. That's when people will start taking you seriously. When you're able to have intelligent conversations with brokers and potential partners and investors, and then that's when people start taking you seriously. So, you have to just choose one, go horizontal across these different asset classes, just so you could pick one and go, vertical deep and just learn it really well and be able to speak it at a high level. That's, should be one of your first steps.
Welcome to Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette, Talie, where we focus on the deals. Our guests are real estate closers who will share in detail the whole process from finding a deal to closing it, as well as strategies and tips to help you do the same. Here's your host, Anette, Talie.
Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Deal Closers. I am your host, Anette, Talie, and my guest today is Tim Kelly. Welcome, Tim.
Annette, thank you so much. I'm honored to be chatting with you.
I am super excited because I don't know if I shared this with you, but when I was investing by myself, isolated in real estate for 5 years, I went to a Bigger Pockets webinar, and from there I started discovering a little bit how to do bigger multifamily, because I was doing duplexes. And I listened to your podcast with Jay Helms. And that really inspired me to go bigger. And that's how I discovered syndications and,
nice.
Doing JVs with other people and not investing by yourself. So that episode literally started my quest and, networking. And later on, I joined Jay's mastermind that helped me immensely. So if you guys are looking for a good mastermind, you can join the W2 Capitalist. And I think, Tim, you have also a mastermind, correct?
That is correct. Jay is my boy, my business partner. I'm part of the W2 Capitalist, community with him. And, but yeah, I have my own military multifamily mastermind. Yeah.
Amazing. So anyway, that episode really helped me pivot and grow so much. That was like the seed that started, my growth. So now I am doing a podcast, which is something that I never thought a year ago. So
that's
thank
special.
you for that.
That's super special. And it was such an honor to be on Bigger Pockets. And it really gets you to the next level because you get a lot more exposure. And if you continue pursuing it, all these people will want to interview you and help you share your story. And that's really what everybody should strive to do. Just share your story with other people, help other people, document your journey and stuff. And, it's been cool. So, and it's an honor just to think that I helped you have that, that complete paradigm shift and kind of go bigger. And, I remember having that same epiphany. So, but yeah.
All right. So share with my audience, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah. Good question. So right now I'm actually still technically active duty in the military until later this year. I'm currently going through a very cool transitioning program where I don't really have to report. I just kind of take care of my stuff and I'm able to focus on my businesses. So I'm still, like I said, still active duty. On 2014, I went on a deployment and just had a bunch of books with me. I've always been a fan of personal finance and building wealth. And I've always just wanted to know more how to control it myself. And then I just kept seeing this trend, real estate this and real estate that. This is why anybody could do real estate. This is why, more people are created into millionaires and billionaires every single year and decade because of real estate. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. So got off that deployment, just dove in and just completely read all kinds of books, went to conferences, dove into my education. I consumed a lot and then enough to get really disorganized and unfocused. And then I decided to focus. And that was multifamily investing. And then, that was back probably for about 4 years ago when I had that epiphany. And then now I've been investing in just mostly apartment communities, mobile home communities, and I love small multifamily all over the Southeast and Midwest. I've helped close over 1,000 doors in all those asset classes. So that's why I like to separate, because now we've created a military community where we're helping other military members do the same thing, just to set themselves up for whenever they decide to separate from the military. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell.
And I love that, you're company, Active Duty Passive Income, is very focused on one niche, which is the military, helping the military achieve financial freedom. How did this company start, and how did it happen?
Amazing. To this day, still active duty Marine Markion Sitch. He's the founder and kind of the visionary, and he went to the Naval Academy with Mike Foster, the podcast host. They went to the Naval Academy together, hung out, started to get to know each other, realized they both were interested in real estate investing and mindset growth and just getting more out of life. And then so they kind of started the podcast, the Facebook group. They kind of put this awesome academy together, our course to teach military how to invest in real estate. And then, I was on, because of that Bigger Pockets podcast, Eric Upchurch was just then added to the team too. They kind of all were running in the same circles, and they got together. Then they heard me on the Bigger Pockets podcast. Eric just called me because I gave out my cell phone number, and we just had one conversation, and it was just forever gone. Like, we just were working together from that moment. We immediately clicked, and we just all dove in, and now we're all just building and co-owners of this amazing community, and it's just an ecosystem and movement with a best-selling book and a podcast and a very high-growing Facebook group. Our courses and masterminds are helping a lot of people all over the world, essentially, that are in the military or just got out of the military, create financial freedom. It's definitely just humbling, and I love doing it every day. I mean, it's easy to wake up to know I'm able to go like push that needle forward,
Yes, and I've been seeing in the last year only the growth that it's having, like from the course to the mastermind and, all the investing that you guys are doing. So it's an amazing community. I know a couple of the people in your community, and they are awesome people as well. All right, so I skipped your bio. So let me read your bio for everybody that don't know you yet. So Tim is an active duty Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy and has been serving his country for 14 years. Now stationed on shore duty in Pensacola, Florida, he is fully pursuing his dream of owning and operating multifamily real estate and helping others realize their financial freedom goals. Tim has been investing in real estate since 2011, where he purchased his first single-family residence with the intention of forcing appreciation and flipping for a profit. That was also his first house hack, and he quickly learned the benefits of long-term buy and hold. Real estate were much more aligned with his goals. So you said that you started studying, and you got you were looking at everything, and you didn't know. So what was the thing that made you focus on multifamily?
The fact that I was, I came across just a couple of books, and I opened my mind up, and I didn't want to really hone in on something hard until I kind of knew really the big picture. What are all the ways I can get involved and really generate wealth and legacy wealth in real estate, and single family flipping, single family hold, multifamily, small multifamily hold, big multifamily commercial, all these different strategies. And I didn't really lean hard into one until I had all of them, basic knowledge of all of them. And then I started reading specifically about multifamily because the first book I read, which was The ABCs of Real Estate by Ken McElroy, the rich dad advisor. He's a real estate advisor to Robert Kiyosaki. And The ABCs of Real Estate. I read that book, and it just clicked, and I was like, this makes sense. I believe this will help me get to my financial freedom, number faster. And I know I could do it. And then I realized it's not all on you. You just build a team of people that could just go towards the same goal, that had the same vision, and bring different things to the table and different aspects of the business. And kind of just, from there, all I focused on was multifamily. So it was a couple books, and my focus on just keeping it in that one niche and being able to start actually speaking the language. That's when people will start taking you seriously. When you're able to have intelligent conversations with brokers and potential partners and investors, and then that's when people start taking you seriously. So, you have to just choose one, go horizontal across these different asset classes, just so you could pick one and go, vertical deep and just learn it really well and be able to speak it at a high level. That's, should be one of your first steps.
Awesome.
The Deal.
All right. So let's talk about the deal. What deal do you want to talk about? What asset type and where is it located?
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Do you want me to talk about my fourplex acquisition with a 203K FHA loan, or the mobile home park acquisition? I'm gonna leave
Actually,
that up
I
to you.
wanna I wanna go into the fourplex because you mentioned that it was a really cool loan, and I think people need to know about that.
Yeah. So I learned about this loan. That's an FHA loan called the 203K FHA loan, and it's just actually the tax code number 203K. But it allows you to wrap the cost of rehab into the loan. So just to give you numbers, I find a 4-unit property that's producing income for 150K in a great neighborhood in Pensacola, right? And I put 100K of rehab into it and just wrap that into the loan. So it's about a $250,000 project, right? I only have to put 3.5% down. So it was about 15 to 16K after closing costs and all in money for the earnest money and for the home inspections and all the fees. And, I never actually ended living in it, but it's intended as a owner occupied property. So you could do it up to 4 units. You could do a single family home duplex. And as long as you have the intentions of kind of living in one unit and renting out the others, called house hacking, this is just one of the best ways that I found you could really force a lot of appreciation. I mean, it's cash flowed over $2,000 since day one a month. Plus I've, just took out 50K cash tax free on a cash out refi. And so, I mean, the ROI at this point is infinite. And it's in a great growing neighborhood. So,
All right.
203K FHA loans are amazing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. But let me unpack a little bit everything that we talk for the people that are new and they want to understand what everything is. So the type of asset, you said it was in a good neighborhood, but $100,000 in repairs, that's a pretty big chunk. So what type of asset was it, and what type of repairs did you have to make?
Yeah, great question. Let's every single all 4 of the units had some kind of rehab. So it was kind of like a main house divided up into 3 units, and then a 2-car garage that was just converted into a unit before I bought it. So it was already a unit. So in the back unit, I mean, new floors, new cabinets, and new appliances, new windows, new decks back in front, and then in the main house, a couple new bathrooms, mostly like completely new kitchens, just paint, windows. So it's almost completely a gut, but it was livable before, but I just really upgraded it because it was in like A-ish neighborhood, but it was like a C property. ABC, like D is war zone. It was like a really kind of low income rundown. So I forced a lot of appreciation in one of the best neighborhoods, and now it's worth about 500, to 600K, and it's paying me every single month. And other people are paying that debt down for me. So
Absolutely.
it's just a great asset. Yeah.
So basically you found the ugliest and worst house in the neighborhood, and then you just put some money into it, and then you made it comparable to everything else in the neighborhood, or even better to the other properties in the neighborhood. And so you force the value, the appreciation of this property. Awesome. So
Yeah.
you mentioned house hacking. So can you explain to people that don't know what house hacking is and how it works?
Yeah, I mean, this is why we really love teaching the military about this, using their VA loan, right? So house hacking, if you are in a single family home, it's got maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms. You could just buy the house, you are occupying one of the bedrooms, and then you rent out the other bedrooms. And most of the time you'll live for free. Maybe you'll cash flow, like everything will be covered for you. And you're just in a position where you're getting experience doing a lot of things. You're a homeowner, you're kind of an investor, especially if you get multiple units. And you're able to manage tenants if you want, or you could, have another manager manage for you. And you're just in a position where you're saving so much money. So you're able to stack up a lot of your savings, accelerate your savings. And really, while you're learning, if you want to continue doing it, as you're stacking it up, you're getting experience, and you're learning more specifically about the one asset class you want to like really hone in on. So.
That's awesome. All right. So then you mentioned ROI. So for people that don't know, what's ROI?
That is return on investment. So, in the investing world, whether it's a stock or bond or mutual fund or real estate, what you invest, the key metric is what are you getting and what is your return on investment, ROI. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the stock market is likely because it's going to go up and down, but in real estate, it's usually a 10 plus return if you buy and hold. But even if you passively invest, you can get like a 9, 8% cash on cash return. Plus you're getting ownership and tax benefits on top of that as well. So that's why a lot of smart and accredited investors like investing their money in real estate. And we partner with them to buy the large, commercial property.
All right. So going back to the deal, how did you find this deal?
I was living in Virginia Beach. I got orders down here to Pensacola the minute I got orders, which was like maybe 8 months before I actually got here. Immediately started networking with other people on Bigger Pockets, and I connected with agents, other partners, some other managers in the area, just built a network here before I even got here. And then while I was in transition, I came down here a couple times to look at about 12 different properties. So I connected with an agent who showed me and walked me up tons of properties around the area. I'm like, yep, that's the one. And so it was simple. It was just, I created a network. I just really relied on them to like choose the best properties. Then we kind of went around. So it was a really good agent. Then I found a really good property manager, and, it's just worked out really well. So that's kind of a little bit about how that transition went. Yeah.
And you were specifically looking for a multiple unit at this point, correct?
Yeah, like I was focused on large multifamily, big apartment complexes, but I knew I wanted to get a live-in, buy my own property that I live in, and get as many doors as possible under one roof. And with that, you can get up to 4 units with residential owner-occupied lending, right? So I was looking specifically for a fourplex that I could house hack in a great neighborhood, and then I'll eventually rent out, and it'll just be a cash flowing fourplex. So I had that intent, that was my intent while I was like looking at the larger deals too.
That's awesome. All right. So tell us the financing part, right? So you decided to use a 203K loan, but you could have also used a VA loan. So why did you decide to go one way and not the other?
Because I am a vet, and I just actually sold the property in Virginia Beach. So I freed up my whole VA loan benefit. So I had really my whole entire VA loan benefit, but I was more attracted to the rehab component, that you could wrap the cost of rehab into the loan, and really for very little down, even though the VA loan is 0% down. At that time, I didn't know, but now the VA, you could wrap the cost of rehab into VA loans, and they order development loans like construction. But then I actually did that on my next property. I did the same thing kind of in the same area on a triplex with a VA rehab loan, where I lived in a single family home and then had the duplex, and we gutted everything. It was all brand new in like a historic district of Pensacola. And that's where we lived for like about 1.5 years. And now we live somewhere else, but now that's a fourplex and a triplex. And so one was a 203K loan, one was the VA rehab loan.
All right. So for people that are not veterans, then you have the option of doing the 203K loan. And if you're a veteran, then you can take advantage of the VA rehab loan. All right. Is there any specific requisites besides being or intending to being an owner occupied when you use the 203K loan?
Yeah. You have to have the intentions of living in one of the units for 6 months and 1 day. After that, if you did have the intentions and life changed, then it's okay. You just say, well, now I'm moving. I'm just going to out, and this is why we're moving. You just have to speak to the lender through either a phone, through your broker, whoever you're dealing with. It's how the relationship that you have and how you work that system. Yeah.
Okay. And are lenders familiar with these loans? Because I've never had a lender offer me this product, for example. Yeah. How did you find about it? How did you find out?
Exactly. It's just asking about it. I'm not going to say, I can't give you a ratio like this is how many lenders actually offer it. I'll say less than half, probably know about it. Right. And then like maybe a smaller percentage actually carry that product. Right. And luckily there was a local bank right here in Pensacola that did the VA rehab loan and the 203K loan. I believe if you put enough time into finding that person, you could probably get it figured out,
Absolutely. Is the interest rate higher on this type of loans,
A
or
little
maybe
bit.
that's why they don't offer it?
A little bit, but they make more money off of it, is what you're saying, because there actually is more work, because you have to get like a licensed, bonded, and insured GC, general contractor, to help you, and they have to work with the bank. So there's a lot more paperwork and red tape. So the bank has to do more work, so they do charge a little bit more for it. But it's not much, and like I said, ROI is infinite at this point again, because of how little I had to put down and what I've already taken back out and all the other equity growth. But yeah, it's a little bit higher than your regular rates.
Okay, so it may be a little bit more, paperwork, because you have to get a GC to work with the bank. So you have to get a GC that is familiar with this process as well, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of contractors who kind of sort of know about it, but they've never done one, because they're not willing to work with the bank, because there are more, again, more admin, more paperwork to fill out. The bank controls your draws. They actually issue the draw to me, then I have to give the draw to the contractor. So they have to be very patient and open to it. But if you find someone who's actually done it, that's who you should be gravitating to, because they can actually do it. They're familiar with it. But it all depends. You have to just ask. Yeah. And I can't give you, this is how many contractors probably have done it, but it's many have, many haven't. It all depends on where you're at.
All right. So the going back to the price, did you have any negotiations to get to the 150,000? I mean, that's a killer price for a 4-unit.
Yeah, it was listed around 200, and we kind of went back and forth for a while. I was only there for a weekend, so it was not a while. It was just one negotiation, but yeah, we kind of went back and forth and listed for 195 or 200, and we kind of just, because of the inspection, and I kind of really stressed how much work I'm going to have to put into it. So I was able to get a lot of leverage. Plus, not many people were looking for like a rundown fourplex, that you want to have to put work in. That's the only thing. Now there's probably tons of people looking for those types of properties, right? More and more. But at the time, I don't think there was a whole lot of interest in it. So I had the negotiation power too.
Was the property on the market for a while, or was it like a new listing?
No, it was listed for about 3 months ish. If I remember correctly.
Right. So the owners were a little bit ready to kind of sell it at this point. They had been waiting for the highest price and they didn't get it. So they might have been more open to negotiations.
Yeah. Plus it was super distressed. You could tell they weren't managed well, and there was a lot of deferred maintenance.
Was it occupied?
Yeah, it was fully occupied, and like some dangerous type of scenarios where there was like the pregnant, woman was upstairs, and there was a gas leak that nobody did anything about. And, there was so there was a lot of inspections and a lot of things that we had to do to comply and pull permits with the city. But they should not have been living there. It was not, that's why we had a low income tenant base.
Right. So what did you do with these tenants? Did you have to wait? Were they on leases? Did you have to wait? Or did you just, because it was not a safe environment, you were able to move them somewhere else?
Yeah. So they didn't have leases. Obviously, it was mismanaged. No leases in place. They were getting paying cash every month, right? And so because I was rehabbing every single unit, I worked with the title company and their attorney, and basically had what are called estoppel agreements or estoppel letters, where even though they didn't have a lease, so they had no grounds to stand on that they had the authority to even be on that property, right? But I wanted to give them what they were entitled. So I said, hey, 30 or 60 days in advance, we issue them the letter, say, hey, this is when we're closing, this is when you're going to have to be out, and then 30 days, so they had plenty of time, plenty of heads up. But these are your estoppel agreements, because this property is no longer going to be livable. So that's it. It was a simple process, and title company, title attorney helped us through that. And so, yeah, but it varies from every state, is different for landlord tenant type stuff. So that's a really good person to have on your team. If you're in a different area or whatever, someone who's familiar with the landlord tenant laws is really great to have on your team.
Awesome. All right. So how long was the construction once you started doing the construction on that fourplex?
It was just over 6 months. Actually, we're they agreed initially to be completed in 90 days, right? But because of logical delays, I mean, they weren't getting draws, but it's just things that they had to wait on, things that they had changed. Was the scope of work, increased a lot, from after what we agreed to. And then we started rehabbing, and obviously you discover more. So there was obviously delays, and then so it was about 6 months where I was able to actually close, and then it was been fully occupied ever since.
All right. So on this 203 loan, so you said that you had $100,000 for rehab. Did you have to have a budget before getting the loan of how much this rehab was going to be, or as you went, they would, like, if you had more stuff, they would increase it? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason why I was able to put 100K was because the market value of that property was like 3 or 350, and I was getting it for 150, and I was, then I could afford to wrap another 100K into it. And because it was only about a $250,000 loan, it's well under what's called the ARV, the after repair value of that property. Because once, they appraised it obviously very high once I put 100K into it. So well below. And so you have to have everything agreed to before you even close. So everything's agreed to, everything is kind of bullet point. In this room, you're going to do this for this price. On that property, you're going to do that at this price. And so the bank agrees, the buyer agrees, the contractor agrees, and then you close. And then they have to start doing work. They get an initial draw. They start doing work. And then until they complete like 50% of the work, and they'll get the next draw, right? But it has to go through me. So you're managing contractors and you're managing the bank process. But it's very simple if you just ask the right questions. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I was wondering if you were able to increase the amount. Like you said that you found stuff and you increased the scope, but you had already agreed to this price, right? Like you had already agreed to 100,000 in construction. So were you able to modify that amount and get more, or you had to just work with that and put your own money?
Yeah, that is a great question. So you are able to modify the loan if something significant comes up, to renegotiate and just say, hey, look, obviously the ARV, there's plenty of space and arbitrage and in between. I did not have to do that though. So I was able to just continue negotiating with the contractor to keep everything in the budget that we already agreed to. So I work with them a little bit on that too.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so let's go now to the exit strategy. But before then, how much cash flow were you getting when you bought it with the tenants that you had, and how much were you able to increase it after renovations?
Yeah. So I was getting literally no income because there was no tenants when I closed. So there was
because
no income.
They left the first day. Okay, but how much were they getting? Do you know how much were they paying?
It was like about a third of what I now charge the tenants because of everything we've done. But I mean, it was very, very low. I could tell why the property wasn't upgraded, because there's no money to do it. I mean, he was barely able to cover all the expenses with how much he was getting in revenue. So I didn't have any revenue, since probably about after that 6 month point. Then it took about a month or two to get the tenants in. So, but I was still paying a mortgage, right? You're still paying a mortgage that whole time, even though I'm not living in it. So I was also paying rent somewhere else the whole time, throughout that whole process. But then the minute, everything was rented out, I personally was self-managing. I got it fully occupied with great tenants, and then I turned it over to a manager. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So I think, in your case, you saw that there was, it wasn't safe for people to live there. So you had everybody out. But in in a different scenario, you could have had one person out and remodel that unit and, keep the cash flow from the other ones, and then remodel the next one. And then, you could have done it in stages if it was a situation where it was more of just like an upgrade and not unsafe conditions, correct?
Absolutely. Great point. But we replaced all the windows, the foundation had issues, the roof, and all the landscaping. Yeah, we did think about that, and because all three of them were side by side in one unit and then one was detached, it'd be tough. But yeah, that's a great point for sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you don't, like you had to have, in this case, you had to have some money on the bank to be able to afford the mortgage for 6 months and the renovation. Well, it was being renovated. But if you don't want to do that, then you can just stage it, right? So you start with one unit, then the next one, then the next one. I mean, I've done a renovation where I had tenants and I changed the windows. It's not the best scenario, but
Yeah.
it can be done.
If I were to ask, I would have confirmed that all holding costs, like, I would either have to factor that in and just, modify the loan, or just make sure not even close unless, I wasn't paying until there was the actual revenue coming in. Then I would start paying. But yeah, now I would either ask for something called interest only, because on the commercial debt, you can get debt and get what's called IO, where you interest only. So it's a fraction, a very, very small monthly payment while the rehab is going on. And then you kind of refinance it once the tenants are in place and stabilized. But yeah, I don't think that there's an IO option when you're looking at the 203K loan, because it's a owner occupied residential property loan.
Right. But, those are, that's the beauty of real estate. You have all these options, right? That you can, the same deal, you could have done it in different ways. All right. So let's go finally to the exit strategy. What was your plan for the exit, and what did you do? Holding the property for the long term.
Absolutely. No intent to sell this thing at all. I just refinanced it into a beautiful investment loan, but it was a cash out refinance. So I was able to pull out $50,000 just completely tax free, lower my mortgage payment about $300 a month, and have a lot more equity in the property. So I don't plan on selling that thing. There's no reason. It's in a very gentrified area. It's only getting better and better and better. It's just in a great location. And Pensacola is a growing market. So
absolutely. I love the cash out refi. So how does this process work for the cash out refi for those that don't know? Because in my case, I had a property that I bought cash for 5 years, and I didn't know that I could do a cash out refi until one day I was like, how can I buy the next property? And then I was like, a light bulb went in, like, wait, I have that property that I paid cash. Like, how can I take my money out? And then I started researching the options.
yeah, no, that's something that, you don't just, unless you kind of have that curiosity and open mind to learn more, then you might not learn about it unless someone just tells you about it. But those of you who are listening are open to learning. And so it's all you got to do is just ask, hey, is there a cash out option? And it's cool because, again, owner occupied loans is tax-free money. It just goes right in your pocket.
Right. And that's part of kind of the house hack strategy as well, right? You buy it and you live there. Others are paying your mortgage. And then once you get enough equity on the property, then you can cash out refi, where you just, you tell the bank, my property is worth more. So I want to do a refi, and then you can take cash out of the property, and you keep the property. You don't have to sell it. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right.
Productivity hack.
So now we go to the part of the show where you are going to share with us your productivity hack. This is something that you have implemented in your business that has allowed you to grow and take you to the next level.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we're talking about this, because I kind of nerd out on this type of stuff, because ultimately, man, if you could just be more productive and have more energy and have better time management and just get more done, you'll be happier, more confident, more fulfilled, and live more of an abundant life, right? Ultimately, and if you can keep it and sustain it. So why not be able to produce more and add more value to more people? But we have way too many distractions. Life is kind of too crazy. 2020 has just been like, where did that come from? Go home like you're drunk. So but I really want to focus on the time management right here. And something specifically that I like to do is time block. So, all you're doing is you're just hyper focusing on during a 15, 20, 30, 60-minute time block. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to go work out. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go follow up. I'm going to make that call, go to that meeting, just create a time block. And then you have all this white space to kind of deal with it. And, that's where you could, again, prioritize what is most important, or what is the most, highest revenue producing items that you could do in your business or life. But it just helps me because it's a reminder. I check the time block schedule before I go to bed the night before. So I know exactly what I'm doing from 10 a.m. when my alarm goes off, all the way through the morning. I see where I have maybe time to chill, for 5 minutes, whatever. But it has just been transformational. Time blocking for me is really helped me if I had to pick one thing, but there are a lot because I nerd out on this. I love this type of stuff.
So how do you time block? So let's say, and what do you use, an app? Do you use your calendar? So expand a little bit on it, because that's one of the things that I am like looking to implement in my life, because there is so many things going on all the time for me. And, having kids, there's always stuff that comes up. So, that's something that really resonates with me.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about your whole, everything should be time blocked from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. Especially now, you have to be intentional. If you're not controlling your day, somebody else is, right? And it's, some people think this is a little, kind of just, it doesn't sit well with them when I say sometimes you have to time block time for your family. Create that time for your spouse. This is between this hour and this hour, we are going to spend intentional time together, focus time, go for a walk, talk about, go on a date, do whatever. And same with the family. Otherwise we'll all just be in our own virtual worlds during those unfocused times. So, just be very intentional. And it's just, I use the iCal app on the iPhone. That's it. It's just the default calendar app. And you could just start with this. The minute okay, that's something I have to do. It's not written down anywhere. You don't have any notification. Assign it a day and a time, right? And you should probably have a pretty good idea of what you're doing. And assign it a day and a time. I mean, and then you just, as you kind of day after day, you just say, okay, this is it. I'm not only creating a to-do checklist that'll notify you, what you have to do at the time you have to do it. Then you stop what you're doing and focus on that. And then, I mean, once you kind of start getting into that habit, I have to make this phone call every Friday, time block it. I have to, make this social post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, time block it. Like, I have very strict guidelines, and then I'm so hyper focused and you're able to get more done, and then you'll have more freedom. It's crazy when you have control of your time. That's more freedom for you to do the things you want to do because you're designing your day, and you're not having others kind of design it or direct it for you.
And you probably adjusted it, like you started with something and then you realize, okay, this is too little time, or I need more time for this. So then you kind of adjust as you go.
Yeah. And time blocking works for me. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work for you. It means if you're kind of resonating with what I'm saying and you actually go try it and implement it, because I guarantee you most people won't. But those who likes those challenges to grow and to get uncomfortable, they will do it. They will try it. You might figure it out better than I did. I'm still learning like how to be more efficient with it, but I always ask myself, how could I be more efficient with really everything, but this specifically. So just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but it was pivotal for me. So it could be for you. It's just all totally depends.
That is awesome. All right. So if you are enjoying this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, to share with your friends, and like it, and visit my website, talieinvestments.com. You can listen to the podcast there, or you can visit the YouTube channel, Anette Talie.
Expert tips.
All right. So this is the last part of the show where you're going to share 3 expert tips. And Tim is going to share how to invest as a veteran. What are the 3 best tips to invest as a veteran?
Yeah. And this is funny because at Active Duty Passive Income, we have this motto. It is learn, network, take action, right? it's, if you just memorize those 3 pillars, and that's answering the question. It's learn, it's network, it's take action. And you have to be educated. If you really want something and you already have your why and it's desirable and it's emotional and you're working towards that, hone your education on it and be the best at it. Be able to speak very intelligently about it while you're learning. Network with others who are doing the same and who have already done the same that you are trying to achieve, and that are giving back, like a tribe, accountability, a community. Again, this is what we created at ADPI. And then while you're networking, take action. Like, again, time block, call the broker, time block, search 10 properties, time block, analyze 10 properties, a day, whatever it is, and just really start controlling your time. It's just, again, I'm sure it'll be helpful.
Awesome. All right, people. So don't forget, you got to learn so you can talk intelligently. You got to network. And, networking is one of the things that have changed my life, basically. I didn't understand what networking was before. And once I started, joining the mastermind and meeting all these people and started talking to them, I was like, oh, this is what it is, and now I'm like partnering with one of our mastermind members to do a 420 unit. So to me, that's amazing, that I can, partner with these people that are doing amazing things, and then take action for sure. And, one of the things that I always say is, like, you don't have to do everything. You just take one step, one action that you can do today, and then you just do it. And next time that you have time, then you do the next action. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with 100 things to do, because there is always something else.
Absolutely, man. This is good. This is some valuable stuff. I'm learning some things from you.
Tim, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being an inspiration for a lot of people. If you're not following Tim on Instagram or Facebook, you gotta do it. He's always, posting videos that are super motivational. So can you tell people where can they find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. And Instagram at the Timothy Kelly. LinkedIn, I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn. It's been a game changer for me. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get there if you're building a business. So at the Timothy Kelly on LinkedIn. And then, Facebook, obviously in our Facebook group, at the Active Duty Passive Income Facebook group. Check us out over there, and you can find me on Facebook. And honestly, if you're listening to this and this is inspiring you and you just have some questions, I'm just going to give you my cell phone number, because all you got to do is shoot me a text and we'll set up a call. So it's 847-910-9161. There it is. I mean, it's, if you feel like you should be shooting me a text, just do it and we'll hop on a call. It's just a free, visionary coaching session, let's call it, for you, just to help you out. So just let me know that you heard me on the Annette's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, do it. I guess I did not call you because I think I was listening and I didn't catch the number, but I did message you on Facebook and he replied. And I was so surprised, because at that time I was like, oh, somebody on Bigger Pockets is so out of my league. So he did answer and friend me on Facebook. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you, Tim, for being here today.
Yeah. Be great, guys. Take it easy.
This was Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette Talie, brought to you by Talie Investments. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Our goal is to provide amazing value on your real estate journey. Connect online at www.talieinvestments.com, where you can find this episode and more. Did you like this episode? Subscribe, like, and share.